They were high school sweethearts with bright futures ahead of them.
She definitely wanted to own her own bakery.
Ryan's dream was to get a college football scholarship.
But those dreams would end in tragedy.
I don't know where my teenage daughter is.
Someone had broken into the house.
I saw her laying there, a pool of blood running from her head.
The brutal crime leaves the community shattered.
People couldn't hold themselves together.
All I could do was cry.
What did she do to deserve this?
When the horrible truth is finally revealed, the answer is absolutely heartbreaking.
It was a sad ordeal. There was no indication that something like this could have happened.
I started crying. I didn't know if it was true or not.
March 21st, 2014. It's a quiet Friday afternoon in the Houston suburb of Pearland, Texas.
The community is a great place to live. The schools are wonderful. Everything you can imagine for shopping is there.
In the gated community of Country Place, the kids who ride the bus are just getting home from school.
It's a golf course community, so, people actually had some very nice landscaped homes, and it was a nice, peaceful community.
At approximately 4:30 p.m., 13-year-old Kistler Hill walks to the front door of his family's Country Place home, just like every other school day. Ordinarily, Kistler's 16-year-old sister Ariana arrives home first.
Ariana was a high school junior, and she typically got a ride home from school with a friend.
It was typical for Ariana to go to the game room and just start vegging out watching television.
But this afternoon, as her brother walks in the door, he can't hear the TV upstairs.
Ariana!
Unsure where his sister is, Kistler heads upstairs to look for her. But before he gets to the game room, he spots an alarming sight.
He's noticing that his parents' bedroom is in disarray, things are thrown about.
At that point, he just gets spooked. He quickly leaves the house again and sprinted over to the neighbors.
Kistler runs next door and phones his mother at work.
Hello?
Mom, somebody's been in our house.
What? He was kind of panting, so I knew something was wrong. And I said, so slow down, tell me what's going on.
Where's Ariana?
I don't know.
Oh. Okay, you just stay there. I'll call Ariana.
His mother, Opal, called Ariana's cell phone. There was no answer.
Worried, Opal Hill calls her husband, David, and leaves work early to head home. Upon arrival, she cautiously enters the house.
I went through the bottom, first floor. Nothing wrong. Nothing on the floor. Just absolutely nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, what was he talking about? There's absolutely nothing wrong in the house.
As she climbs the stairs, Opal finds the master bedroom ransacked.
I was thinking to myself, you need to call 911. You need to call 911.
911? Yes, can you send police out to my house ASAP? Looks like someone's broken into my house.
She said, is there anything else that you can think of? And I said, yes, I don't know where my daughter is.
I tried calling, I didn't get any answer. Okay. So I'm afraid to walk further into the house. Yeah, don't go any farther into the house, okay?
The dispatcher instructs Opal to exit the residence and wait outside until officers arrive.
She said, well, don't panic. The police are on the way.
But it's a struggle to remain calm, not knowing if her little girl could be hurt or worse.
That was then starting to set in with me that I really didn't know where she was.
Born in 1997, Ariana Hill had a bright and bubbly personality. As a child, she was always the life of the party.
She was a joyful person to be around. She could definitely change your day within a heartbeat. If you're having a bad day, she could come and just smile on your face and you'd be happy. She was very thoughtful. She was very loving. She had $1 million smile. If she smiled, it would change a lot of things.
At an early age, Ariana embraced her family's Christian faith.
She loved going to church. It was all fascinating to her. There was just something more that she wanted to do, wanted to get more involved, wanted to volunteer to do different things.
From singing in the choir to praise dancing, she was very active in our youth and children's ministry, and everybody loved her.
Growing up, Ariana had an affinity for sports, especially volleyball.
She begged us to let her play, and we decided to go ahead and let her play, and she was awesome at it.
She walked, talked, and slept volleyball.
But volleyball wasn't Ariana's only interest.
Ariana did play volleyball, but her big thing, her big passion was cooking.
She had told me that she actually wanted to go to culinary school and eventually open up her own bakery.
Brownies and cookies was her big things that she loved to do. We would always have her bake the cookies because we knew they were going to be right. She could bake a cookie that would just make you hurt yourself.
Talented on the court and in the kitchen, the pretty junior soon caught the boys' attention.
She was the popular girl. Everyone liked her. She had a good personality. So with a good personality comes guys and crushes and stuff like that.
However, of all the boys vying for Ariana's affection, the one who caught her eye was a junior named Ryan Matthews.
They had classes together and they'd seen each other a couple of times, and he said something to her. So he sparked the conversation.
What's up, y'all?
Oh, hi.
You going to the game Friday?
He played running back for Dawson High School's JV team.
He wanted to play sports in college and then eventually go to the NFL. And in high school, being an athlete is kind of a thing that girls kind of just fawn over.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Cool. I'll see you in the stands.
I definitely remember her having a crush on him. And she liked athletes, obviously because she's an athlete.
Within weeks of that first encounter, Ariana and Ryan were going steady. Although as things heated up between the teens, Ariana's family noticed that her once laser-like focus on her dreams was starting to slip.
I could tell that was kind of derailing her. I wanted her really to focus on school and graduate, and then you can worry about boys, you know?
After all, Ariana had a bright future ahead of her, or so everyone thought. But on the afternoon of March 21st, 2014, Ariana's family is beset by a far more frightening concern.
I get an alarming phone call from my wife stating that our youngest son had come home and the house looked like it had been broken into.
They were both under the impression that there was a burglary that had possibly occurred at their house, and they were unable to get a hold of Ariana.
Fearing for his daughter's safety, David Hill arrives moments after his wife, Opal.
David! Somebody broke in the house!
By the time I pulled into the driveway, she was letting me know that the police were on their way.
Wait, police told us to stay outside! David!
Ariana! I went charging into the house and ran to the game room because I know that's normally where she would be when she comes home from school. And as I proceed out of the game room, I looked into her room and there she was.
Ariana! Hurry! Oh my God!
What I saw was her laying there with her head turned sideways. I saw a pool of blood running from her head.
Within minutes, David Hill walks back outside where his wife is waiting.
He stopped for a second and he didn't say anything, and then he just bellowed oh my God scream that I'd never heard before. He just kind of was shaking his head. Now I was just saying, what is it? What is it? And he was like, no.
Is she in there?
And at that point in time, I couldn't say anything.
He was trying to call pastor. And once he got the chance to talk to someone, he's then said, my daughter's been murdered.
No. Yes, sir. It's not her. It's not her.
No, you don't need to see that.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to see that.
That's not her. No.
I immediately just started to cry and scream and, kind of lose it. I was like, that just can't be. And I wouldn't allow myself to believe it at all.
16-year-old Ariana Hill had everything going for her.
She was smart, pretty, popular, dating a football player, and had dreams of going to culinary school someday.
But on the afternoon of March 21st, 2014, those dreams are shattered when Ariana's father discovers her lying in a pool of blood.
And I just hollered, oh my God, and came running back down the stairs, and my wife was at the bottom. And that's that point in time I told her she's gone.
I just was in disbelief. I was like, I want to see for myself. And I wanted to go in. And of course, he was like, no, I cannot let you see that.
Thankfully, Ariana's teenage brother was safe and sound at the neighbor's house, and he hadn't seen his sister's dead body.
When officers arrive, David Hill painfully informs them that he's found Ariana.
My daughter's been murdered.
With guns drawn, officers enter the home. Once inside Ariana's bedroom, they confirm she is in fact deceased.
You could very clearly see Ariana's body laying at the foot of the bed with her head towards the door. There were no signs of life. There was a huge pool of blood underneath the head and neck area.
Within minutes, detectives arrive on the scene.
It was very clear that she had suffered a wound that led to a lot of blood. Upon closer inspection, it was clear that there were 2 puncture wounds on her neck. It was believed that the wounds were from a sharp object of some kind, likely a knife.
While the injuries to Ariana's body suggest she was attacked with a knife, the rest of the bedroom doesn't yield much in the way of clues.
There were no other signs of struggle, and everything else appeared fairly peaceful and passive for what had occurred. It was a bit unusual.
Detectives then turn their attention to the master bedroom.
You could immediately see that there was some items, figurines and stuff that were on the floor, broke or not how they normally would be.
But something about the scene immediately doesn't sit right with detectives.
There were no drawers that had been opened. Nothing that would indicate a typical burglary where a burglar just comes in and takes, high dollar appliances or, like TVs and gaming systems. All that stuff was still intact. No signs of anything missing.
In an effort to determine how the perpetrator entered the Hill residence, detectives checked the downstairs for clues.
The front door was intact. The back door was completely fine. There were no signs of forced entry throughout the home. Even the windows were intact.
It seemed to indicate that the killer was invited into the house.
Was Ariana's killer someone she knew? To help them answer that question, detectives turned to her grieving parents.
Opal Hill was very distraught, clearly inconsolable at the time. David Hill was able to maintain his composure enough to speak with me.
First of all, is there anyone other than family that would have had access to the home?
No. She wouldn't let anybody in, especially with us not being home.
That was our rule, is that we don't allow others into the house if parents weren't there.
Is there anyone that you can think of that would have wanted to harm your daughter?
It wasn't just Ariana.
What do you mean?
It wasn't just her.
What David Hill tells detectives reveals the full depth of this tragedy.
David Hill informed me that they had not that long ago found out that Ariana was pregnant.
According to David, Ariana's older brother, Korsten, who was away at college, was the first member of the family she'd let in on her secret.
She called me and she said, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And she told me, and the first thing I did was sit down and I had her repeat herself, and I just broke down crying. And I was like, well, do mom and dad know?
When she first found out she was pregnant, she was more scared to tell her parents than anything else.
Her family values did not promote premarital sex. So I'm sure there was some embarrassment there.
But even as Ariana kept her parents in the dark, the rumors began circulating among her friends.
A lot of people at school found out about her being pregnant. And I remember people would actually be talking about it. And I think they had like group messages talking about it and stuff like that. So that was added pressure.
But David tells detectives that despite Ariana's fears, their reaction was far more understanding than she'd imagined.
I love my daughter. So, my thing was, I got to love her through it. I got to help her through, what she was going to be going through.
That was a huge weight off her shoulders. At that point, it was just like, wow, that's not a secret anymore. She was able to really relax and start seeing what her future was going to be like.
But little did Ariana and her parents know, the pregnancy wasn't the only surprise they were in for.
The nurse sat down and she said, here's baby A and here's baby B. And I was like, oh my God.
Once we actually found out that it was going to be more than one, the tables kind of turned. A wow factor at that point.
Ariana and I looked at each other and we hugged each other, embraced each other and just cried.
She was even more happy about that just because, who has twins just like that? Like, that's a huge blessing.
Soon, Ariana and her mother were busy picking out names.
So I shared some names, and some she liked, some she didn't. And, we just kind of went back and forth on some of them. But we did settle on 2 boys, 2 girl names. The PA said that the way they were positioned and all that, they were going to be identical twins.
With her parents' love and support, Ariana began making preparations for the new road that lay ahead.
She was getting ready to transition into the alternative school.
It's normal where girls who are pregnant can go and then continue to keep their classes and their grades up.
She would still get the same education. It's just that she wouldn't have to worry about any complications with her being pregnant.
In fact, Ariana's father explains to detectives that today was her last official day at Dawson High.
This was March 21st, within Friday. She would be beginning the alternative school on Monday.
Detectives wondered if the timing might somehow factor into why she was killed.
Considering everything they have just learned, detectives have one last question for Ariana's father.
Do you know who the father is?
The father? Yeah. The boy goes to her school. It's Ryan Matthews.
He would obviously be one individual that would be very close to Ariana. So it was clearly someone that we want to speak with.
Detectives hope that Ryan Matthews will shed some much-needed light on the investigation. But what they uncover once they arrive at Ryan's home only adds another bizarre layer to the case.
They're asking for the name of Ryan Matthews, and the neighbor is not familiar with that name living at that house.
It was a falsified address. Detectives had no idea what they were dealing with.
Just moments after Ariana Hill's father found her dead inside their family home, detectives in Pearland, Texas have discovered that Ariana was pregnant with twins.
Detectives knew they would need to speak with the father of Ariana's unborn children, but first they decided to fan out in search of potential witnesses to her attack.
We were speaking with neighbors to see if they'd heard anything, if they'd seen anything out of the normal, what they may know about the family or Ariana.
One neighbor does provide detectives with a potentially important piece of information.
There was a neighbor that saw what he believed to be a white truck, either in the driveway or somewhere near the Hill residence.
All the neighbor could tell was that there was an African-American man sitting in the truck.
Detectives wondered if possibly Ryan drove a white truck.
You've never seen that white truck in the neighborhood before?
No, not that truck.
Armed with this new information, detectives leave the scene to track down Ariana's boyfriend, Ryan Matthews. Meanwhile, patrol officers search the area for a possible murder weapon.
Since it looked as though Ariana had been stabbed, they are looking for a knife.
They had brought in the Hills, David and Opal, and had asked if basically any of the knives in the house were missing, and they said no. So that would obviously suggest that a knife was brought in from outside the house.
There was a lot of open land all around the house that we thought a weapon or any other evidence could be hidden, but the murder weapon was never recovered.
Around the same time officers at the scene are striking out in search of the murder weapon, homicide detectives arrive at Ryan's residence.
They contacted the school resource officer at Dawson High School. He was able to go into their database and find out where Ryan Matthews had stated he lived.
However, it appears that on this afternoon, no one is home.
We then talked to a neighbor and asked them if they knew who lived there, if they were familiar with Ryan.
The neighbor's answer takes them by surprise.
They have a son, but not Ryan Matthews.
The neighbor said that it was a totally different family that lived there.
This unexpected news sends detectives scrambling.
I actually used the computer I had on me at the time, try to research some more about Ryan and his family, if there was possibly another address.
Detectives had a deceased teenage girl on their hands, and her boyfriend has essentially disappeared. Detectives needed to get to the bottom of Ryan's whereabouts, and his family for that matter.
Luckily for detectives, the individual who actually lives at the residence arrives moments later.
The woman was pulling up in the driveway, and they were able to speak to her at that time.
The woman tells detectives that Ryan is a friend of the family, and there's a simple reason why the school has the wrong address.
Okay, well, he actually doesn't live here. We just let him use the address to go to the high school in the area.
He still lived within the school district that would be zoned to Pearland High School, so he falsified his address. That was the address that the school resource officer passed on to detectives.
Ryan apparently had switched schools in order to have better odds and chances at excelling in their football program and potentially getting a scholarship.
With that mystery solved, detectives ask the homeowner to do them one more favor.
She got a hold of the Matthews family and let them know that the police were looking for Ryan.
A few minutes later, Ryan and his parents arrive at the house.
We advised them that we'd like to speak with Ryan alone. Everybody agreed, and we went inside.
They sit him down on a couch where they begin their interview with him.
Ryan was very cooperative during the interview, and he'd actually advised that he'd kind of heard some things through social media prior to arriving to talk to us. He'd said he'd seen some things like "Rest in peace, Ariana."
Friends started calling me saying, "Is it true? Is Ariana dead?" And I didn't know how to answer because I didn't know what was going on. People are saying she's been shot, or just that's basically what I'm just hearing.
Ryan also explains that he and Ariana had been dating since the previous fall.
We're really into each other. And I'm not sure if she wanted to take it to the next step, but it's just so happened we end up doing it.
Ryan admits to initially being shocked by the news that Ariana was pregnant.
I didn't really know what to think or what to do because I'm 16. I don't know how to take care of a child.
He was worried about what that meant for his future.
But Ryan says that when he learned Ariana was expecting twins, he decided it was time to do the right thing.
He knew once it was twins that he was going to have to step up and take care of the twins at that point.
Right then and there, we had no choice. We were going to keep them. And she was due September 8th.
Ryan appears to be telling the truth, but it's at this point that detectives' questions become pointed.
They start asking him questions and to his whereabouts and the timeline of events and when he was last seen Ariana.
Even if nothing happened, I just need to kind of know. Did you go over there?
I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. And
well, that's why. Did you go over there today?
I went over there yesterday and today.
Okay. Can you tell me what happened today?
He said that they just hung out and talked about the pregnancy, and that was pretty much it.
At least, that's what Ryan tells them at first.
He initially denied having sex with her, but then he changed that story.
And at some point, he advised that they did start to have sex.
She wanted to do it, and I was like, I don't know if that's for sure. That could smush the baby.
He said he stopped because he didn't want to injure the unborn babies.
We started doing it, but then I didn't feel right. So, I put my clothes on after that. We just cuddled.
According to Ryan, as he and Ariana cuddled, the conversation took a more serious turn.
I was just crying, telling I'm really scared. I know you're scared too. And we just got to be strong together.
She became emotional, but he had to go back to practice, so he left Ariana on the bed crying.
I gave her a kiss goodbye, when I touched her stomach. And after that, I left.
According to Ryan, that was a few minutes after 3 o'clock, well before her little brother got home.
We've asked when the last time he had had communication with Ariana was. He advised us that he had texted her at around 4 o'clock. And then he advised there was probably about 3 texts between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And he had not received a response.
But he said that not long after that, through social media, he had figured out why she had not responded.
All I see is down the timeline, RIP, and I heard Ariana Hill's name in it. And then as soon as I just started crying. I didn't know if it was true or not, what was going on.
Near the end of the interview, Ryan surprises detectives with a question, one that could point to the possible killer.
Ryan asks us, what about the white pickup truck?
Ryan tells police that he saw a white pickup truck parked outside of Ariana's house on the street when he left.
The same white truck the Hills' neighbors claimed they saw that afternoon.
That's what kind of confused me because I don't know anybody that drives a white pickup truck.
By the evening of March 21st, 2014, social media has spread the news of Ariana Hill's murder all across suburban Pearland, Texas.
I was sitting in my room and a friend FaceTimed me. She was hysterically crying on the phone. And she was like, I don't know what's happening, but everybody's saying rest in peace, Ariana.
I was in shock. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this happened to her. This is unbelievable.
So far, the only person of interest in the case is 16-year-old Ryan Matthews, Ariana's boyfriend and the father of her unborn twins. But Ryan has been cooperating with the investigation and during his interview with detectives appears to be telling the truth.
Since Ryan had been by the house that afternoon, detectives needed to rule him out as a suspect.
Ryan and his parents agreed to give some of his DNA with buccal swabs, as well as his cell phone.
Detectives also collect a pair of Ryan's jeans, a shirt, and a black backpack.
These were all items that Ryan told police that he had worn to school earlier that day.
He told his dad he was doing workout, gym, PE stuff, so he had to change into PE clothes.
Detectives send the clothes, DNA swabs, and cell phone to the crime lab. The next morning, they obtain surveillance video from the guard shack at the entrance of the Hills gated community and bring it to the station for processing.
We were aware that there was surveillance video at the guard shack, so we reviewed the video from that day.
In particular, they were looking for clues about the mysterious white truck that might have been connected to Ariana's murder.
When the officers canvassed the neighborhood, there was the mention of the white truck in front of that house, somewhere within that time frame. Ryan was able to communicate the white truck to the officers as well.
I did observe a white truck enter at 3 o'clock, and that same white truck actually left at approximately 4:45.
This white pickup truck was driven by an African-American male.
Detectives could also make out the truck's license plate.
I did verify the license plate, determined who the vehicle was registered to, and subsequently followed up with that individual.
The truck is registered to a man named DeAndre Bach.
He actually owned a landscaping business that had numerous clients in that community.
At this point, anything was possible. Maybe DeAndre was stalking Ariana or had some ill will towards her.
After tracking DeAndre down, detectives bring him in for questioning.
He was not very responsive.
He didn't remember being in the neighborhood.
I'm not sure. I mean, I be in and out of there all the time. I have a bunch of yards I do back there. The days just kind of run together, you know?
To jog his memory, detectives show him a still picture from the video.
Yeah, that's me. Come to think of it, I did swing by.
People didn't have a reason why he was there other than to believe it was business related. I believe the final answer was that he was picking up payment.
We basically ran into an investigative dead end with him. I mean, I didn't have anything else I could really follow up on.
With no other concrete leads, detectives go back to the surveillance tape pulled from the guard shack.
At this point, they were looking for any other vehicles that might have entered the neighborhood at the time of the murder.
Scrolling back almost an hour before DeAndre's truck arrived, detectives spot a black SUV carrying 2 young men, one in the back and one in the driver's seat, along with a young woman seated in the passenger seat.
The passenger appeared to be Ariana, and there was a third passenger in the vehicle that was in the back seat behind the passenger seat, but due to the window tint, we were unable to determine who that was.
To uncover the identities of the 2 young men, detectives reach out to the guards who man the security gates at Ariana's neighborhood.
Spoke with 2 of the security guards that work at the guard shack. One of them advised that she knew for sure the driver was named Isaiah.
Isaiah lived within the same neighborhood as Ariana.
Detectives also confirmed that Isaiah drove a dark SUV and that sometimes he gave Ariana a ride home from school.
But that isn't all.
Interviews with Ariana's friends revealed that he had a crush on her.
It was kind of just like, oh, you kind of like me and I kind of like you, like that type of thing.
But detectives can't help but wonder, could Isaiah's crush have been not so innocent?
This guy could be jealous and he could have killed her.
Detectives investigating the death of 16-year-old Ariana Hill have unearthed a new person of interest, Isaiah Frost, a fellow student at Dawson High, who appears to have driven Ariana home from school on the afternoon of her murder.
Isaiah lives in the community. He was known to have a crush on Ariana. At that point, authorities are wondering, could he have killed her in a jealous rage?
To answer that question, detectives obtained parental consent to ask Isaiah himself.
Isaiah, we know you drove Ariana home.
So, I did it all the time.
Was there anybody else in the car with you and her?
Her boyfriend?
Her boyfriend, Ryan Matthews?
Yes.
Did you give him a ride to their house often?
Sometimes.
He had been asked by Ryan if he could give them a ride to Ariana's house that day. So Isaiah did give them a ride from school. They left a few minutes early.
Did you know why they were going back to her house?
Same reason they always did. They were gonna have sex.
What did you think about that?
It's not my business. If that's what she wants, of course.
Did it make you mad that she chose him over you?
I guess.
Mad enough to hurt her?
Wait, what? No.
Isaiah told detectives they had it backwards. If he was mad at anyone, it was Ryan.
It wasn't right the way he treated her.
How so? How did he treat her?
Isaiah tells police that Ryan was a bit of a player at school and considered Ariana to be a friend with benefits.
Dude, benefits? She's having your babies. I didn't understand him.
Well, why'd you give him a ride then?
Hey, he paid me.
Isaiah explains that since Ryan didn't have a driver's license, he would sometimes pay Isaiah to drive him and Ariana around.
So Isaiah did give them a ride from school, and he did, in fact, come back at 3 o'clock, pick up Ryan, and dropped him off at Dawson High School, where Ryan's father picked him up at school.
You think Ryan could have done anything like this?
Nah. He likes to act tough like most guys on the team, but I don't think he could be a cold-blooded killer.
And Isaiah advised that Ryan seemed perfectly normal, like any other day or time that he'd actually come into contact with him.
So at this point, there was nothing that Isaiah said that conflicted with Ryan's version of events, which suggested that Ryan was innocent and that maybe the killer was still unidentified.
However, Isaiah tells detectives that there were a couple of things that seemed off when he picked Ryan up later that afternoon.
Ryan came out of the house and got in the car, but Ariana didn't come shut the door, which was pretty normal of her to do.
And Isaiah says that's not all.
He changed his clothes.
Really?
When he picked him up, he was wearing a black Under Armour type shirt.
Isaiah's description of Ryan's shirt did not match the shirt he was wearing when he spoke to police, nor did it match Ryan's description of what he said he wore to school that day.
Detectives wonder why Ryan had changed clothes and where those clothes might be now.
So the question for detectives now is whether this information is proof that Ryan was in fact involved in Ariana's murder, or if this was quick thinking on Isaiah's part to cover his own tracks and point the finger at Ryan.
Could Isaiah have gone back to Ariana's home after he left with Ryan? After all, she would be alone by herself. And at that time, if he wanted to act out a jealous rage and kill her, that would be the opportune time.
When detectives look into this theory, though, the evidence appears to rule Isaiah out.
Surveillance video showed him leaving with Ryan at 3:15 and not returning to the community until after the murder was committed.
Unfortunately, since they were driving away from the camera, the gatehouse surveillance video could not confirm what Ryan was wearing.
On Monday morning, detectives obtained surveillance footage from the school, hoping to confirm Isaiah's story.
We have video of them exiting the school together, the three of them, Isaiah, Ryan, and Ariana.
One thing stood out in particular on that video. Ryan was not wearing what he told police he was wearing.
He's wearing a blue polo type shirt, collared shirt, and some almost tan loafer style, penny loafer style shoes.
He never mentioned the blue shirt nor those shoes. And he, in fact, had told me the wrong backpack.
His backpack is not black, but it's multicolored backpack. And so they realize that this backpack is not the one that he was wearing that day.
We obviously didn't have at least part of the clothing that Ryan had wore to Ariana's house that day. Obviously, that was evidence in this case, so search warrants were obtained.
That afternoon, detectives searched the Matthews home, but there's no sign of any of the clothing items seen in the school surveillance video. However, they do find the black shirt Isaiah claims Ryan was wearing when he left Ariana's house.
The shirt appeared to be clean and devoid of anything that might resemble human blood.
But as investigators are finishing up, Ryan comes home from school.
Mom, what's going on?
When Ryan walked in through the door, he was wearing the multicolored backpack detectives were trying to find.
Inside the multicolored backpack was a pair of tan Sperry's that was consistent with what we saw in the video.
Interestingly enough, the backpack also had a section cut out of it.
Upon closer examination, you can also see something that gives the visual appearance of possibly being blood.
4 days after the murder of Ariana Hill, detectives in Pearland, Texas are focusing on Ariana's boyfriend, Ryan Matthews, as the prime suspect.
Surveillance video from Dawson High School showed that Ryan was not wearing what he said he was wearing on the day of Ariana's murder.
Obviously, it sounds like he's trying to distance himself from those items, if not completely hide them. from the police.
But when they encountered Ryan during the execution of a search warrant on his parents' house, detectives recovered the shoes and backpack Ryan had been wearing the afternoon of the murder.
There was actually a small section of the backpack that was cut out, but there was still blood around that area that had been cut out.
But was it Ariana's blood? Detectives confiscate the backpack for forensic testing. Within weeks, they received the results.
Ariana's DNA was discovered on the shoes, on the backpack.
With all the evidence they had now, the video placing him at the scene at the time of the murder, the blood evidence, the change of clothes, and the lies, it was enough to formally charge him.
On May 13th, 2014, Pearland police arrest Ryan Matthews for the murder of Ariana Hill.
He transferred to Pasadena. They arrested him at school. I actually felt a wave of relief. He had gotten a new girlfriend and he was acting like everything was normal. So everyone was like, what's going on? And then when they found out, they were kind of just taken aback by the whole thing.
Ariana's family is just as stunned.
I didn't want to accept it because she was dating him and he never portrayed to me to be that person that would do something like that.
When he's booked into the Brazoria County Jail, Ryan professes his innocence.
He maintained this air of, I will get out of here and I will go on with my career. He described how in about 2 years he would be going into the NFL draft and that he'd be a first-round draft pick. It was a matter of delusion almost.
On April 14th, 2015, Ryan Matthews' trial gets underway. Prosecutors confidently lay out their case, focusing on the blood evidence found on Ryan's multicolored backpack.
The DNA is a very important part of this case.
To explain how it got there, prosecutors walked the jury through what happened after Ariana and Ryan returned to her house the afternoon of the murder.
It's pretty clear that from the evidence that Isaiah drops the two of them off. They enter the house as they normally would, make their way to her bedroom.
But according to prosecutors, sex isn't what Ryan had on his mind.
How much longer till your brother gets home?
We got at least an hour. Ryan, what are you doing?
The medical examiner believed that it was highly likely that Ariana had been strangled prior to the stab wounds, hence she was barely conscious at the time.
He stabbed her and punctured her carotid artery.
After Ariana bled out, Ryan cleaned himself up and changed his clothes.
We believe that Ryan wrapped up the murder weapon, the knife itself, with the blue shirt and placed it into the backpack.
Since the knife and the blue shirt were never recovered, police suspected Ryan disposed of them at some point.
Prosecutors believe that once he changed clothes, Ryan attempted to make the attack look like a deadly breaking and entering.
Going into the master bedroom and just essentially swiping the items off the dresser.
Then Ryan called Isaiah Frost and asked him to pick him up and deliver him to football practice.
3:11 p.m. Ryan and Isaiah leave the gated community, and Isaiah drops Ryan back off at the Dawson High School. 3:23 p.m. Ryan texts Ariana, "Hey baby, what you doing?" Already, this kid is creating an alibi.
However, prosecutors point out that these text messages aren't the only evidence found on Ryan's phone.
Ryan agreed to turn over his cell phone to the Pearland police for analysis.
Prosecutors read recovered texts between Ryan and Ariana to the jury.
The forensic analysis of Ryan's phone showed numerous texts back and forth. A great majority of those texts had to do with the pregnancy.
He clearly didn't want kids. He was very adamant about her getting an abortion.
There was also talk and discussion about harming yourself by perhaps punching yourself in the stomach to eliminate the pregnancy.
She was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what I believe in doing, and that is keep the baby and move forward. That just lifted my heart to hear that. It's just like I was hearing her speak through the text.
And contrary to what Ryan had told detectives earlier, the news that she was expecting twins did not make him more inclined to step up and be part of his children's lives.
She's really excited, and she texts Ryan to say, "Hey, I'm having twins." She thought he would be happy, but he was furious.
It sent him into a tailspin. He was very distraught by the idea of having one child, much less two children. He was very harsh and critical of her through text messages about that.
Ryan tells Ariana that his only dream is to play college football and that having a child will prevent that dream.
The text message communications were huge in this case. It clearly sets out a motive.
Ryan threatens to commit suicide unless she has an abortion.
According to prosecutors, it's an idle threat.
With most manipulative personality types, threats of suicide, those are just tactics that someone does to get what they want.
Prosecutors assert that despite Ryan's repeated pleas, Ariana refused to have an abortion, which as her final days at Dawson approached, sent Ryan into full-blown panic mode.
She was getting ready to transfer to the alternative school where she would be until the twins were born.
Friday the 21st will be her last day. And so if he's going to act, he's going to have to do it soon.
Ryan Matthews was willing to do whatever it took for Ariana not to block any of his future plans, and that included killing her.
When it's the defense's turn, they begin by suggesting that detectives had been too quick to rule out landscaper DeAndre Bach, the driver of the white truck spotted near the crime scene.
The defense's theory in the case was maybe that DeAndre Bach or someone within his landscaping company killed Ariana.
But the defense only calls one witness to back up their claims, Ryan Matthews.
Ryan took the stand, which was very surprising. As a prosecutor, you're always excited to have the opportunity to cross-examine the defendant.
Although if Ryan is worried about what prosecutors might ask him, he certainly doesn't show it.
When they put Ryan on the witness stand, first of all, he immediately started to smirk and smile. And we're all looking at him like, are you crazy? This is not something to laugh at. That's another sign to let you know this kid was deranged.
It was obvious that he thought this whole thing was a joke.
A smirking Ryan tells the jury he's innocent of any wrongdoing. When prosecutors get a chance to cross-examine Ryan, they bring up one final piece of evidence that wipes the smirk right off his face.
Finally, we get to the issue of what happened to the blue shirt, Ryan, the blue shirt that we see you on the video in. At that point, Ryan basically gives a response of, well, I got a hole in my shirt that day and I needed to throw it away.
Who throws away a shirt if they're innocent?
This was probably about as close as I've ever got to a confession of murder on the witness stand.
After 5 hours of deliberations, Ryan was convicted of capital murder.
Capital murder, in this particular case, is the killing of an individual younger than 10 years of age. And in Texas, we consider an individual to include babies from the moment of gestation through birth.
The conviction carries a mandatory life sentence.
He will be eligible for parole in 40 years.
But for Ariana's family, that falls far short of justice.
I was glad that they had sentenced him to where he couldn't get out no time soon, if at all. But that just wasn't good enough. Because he took more than just one life. He took 3 lives. They were all precious.
And now all Ariana's family can do is cling to their memory of her.
Once he passed, I probably visited her grave. Maybe 3 to 4 times a week I go see her. Cause I don't feel right if I don't. And, when I pass by, I blow 3 kisses. 1 for her, 2 for the boys. And nobody knows that. It kind of brings me peace. I just want her to know that I still love her, even though she's not here.
I'm still thinking she's eventually going to walk through that door. I need to be ready for that. Her physical body is not here, but her spirit is still here with us.
A late-night rendezvous on a country road ends in death.
They pulled up next to each other, driver's door to driver's door.
The other car pulls out a gun.
She was killed execution style with a shot between her eyes. It was literally like something out of a movie.
Friends and family are devastated.
A very big part of my life was taken from me.
I just basically fell on my knees and I started praying, like, give me some kind of sign of who did this.
As the case unfolds, the evidence points police to an old flame.
It was a short but passionate romance.
Had this all-consuming passion carried a hefty price?
I lied the first time. I fucked up, man.
This was the most cold, calculated, premeditated case that I've ever tried.
Monday, April 9th, 2012. It's nearly 5 o'clock in the morning as a LaFleur County, Oklahoma sheriff's deputy drives down a remote country road not far from the Arkansas state line. He is responding to a report of a suspicious vehicle that came in a half hour earlier.
A person had driven by the car and thought, well, it must be someone that's intoxicated or something like that.
There's this red Charger, basically in the middle of the road, all the windows down, engine running, but the lights are off.
This area was categorized as very rural and not a place that has a lot of traffic.
It was definitely an odd place for this car to be parked.
However, the deputy takes no chances as he approaches the vehicle.
The deputy in these pre-dawn hours, having no idea what he's coming up on, approaches very cautiously, has his hand on his gun.
There was a window down, and they noticed that there was a person in the driver's seat of the car.
Drive the vehicle! Turn your engine off! Show me your hands!
With no response coming from the individual in the car, the deputy draws his weapon and moves to the open window.
Let me see your hands!
There was a black female that was sitting in the driver's side. She had a bleeding injury to her head.
Dispatch, go ahead and start me another unit.
There were 2 gunshot wounds, one in between the eyes in the forehead area, one in the temple.
While the sheriff's deputy waits for backup, he runs the vehicle's plate number.
It came back to Kalani Flynn.
I couldn't imagine who would want to even harm her.
Growing up in Fort Smith, Arkansas, Kalani Flynn was an outgoing and bubbly young woman.
Kalani was always just spontaneous, happy all the time. Like, her smile just brightened up the room.
That child would laugh at everything. I mean, everything. Even when she would get in trouble, she would just smile at you just like she wasn't in trouble, like there was nothing wrong.
Not even her parents' divorce could put a damper on Kalani's sunny disposition.
I got custody of Kalani, but we still try to keep the family real close.
Kalani was very close to her dad and her stepmom. And as far as Kalani's mom, I believe she had a good relationship with her.
Kalani grew up with a real sense of security around her.
Kalani's confident, easygoing nature served her well in high school, where she ran track and was a member of the cheerleading squad.
Kalani was popular in school. She had lots of friends, and everybody just, smiled and was happy to be around her. She was the life of the party. She made everybody feel comfortable and just relaxed and loose, and, just basically her spirit was worry-free.
She was funny. She was caring. She was giving. She was sweet. And anyone that knew her loved her.
Not that Kalani didn't have a serious side.
Kalani was very smart. She was making A's and B's and top of her class.
She was a people person, and that's why she wanted to go and become a nurse.
After graduating from high school with high marks, Kalani began pursuing her dream.
She went to college here at the University of Arkansas.
Kalani was just focused on going to nursing school, getting on with the rest of her life.
She was just basically getting all of her preliminaries out of the way, getting ready for her main courses.
Though the young beauty garnered a lot of attention from the opposite sex, Kalani stayed focused on her studies. That is until she met a young man named Daryl Roberts.
Hey.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. I just got here.
He was someone that she met in Fort Smith. He was pretty cool. They got very close. She was with him for maybe about a year.
But just as things were turning serious between Daryl and Kalani, fate intervened.
He was incarcerated for drug-related charges.
She was writing him because he was still cool, even though they weren't together.
But that fall, while Daryl was locked up, Kalani crossed paths with someone new, Christopher Simpson.
Hey, sis.
Hey, this is my brother Chris. Kalani, Chris.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Christopher was quite a bit older than Kalani, probably 6 or 7 years.
She met him because she went to school with his sisters.
I can't believe your sister never introduced us.
Well, I don't get out much, really.
He had went into the military after he graduated and had served in Afghanistan.
So you just got back in town?
Pretty much.
Something sparked between them.
So you seeing anybody?
Depends. What are you doing Friday night?
Within weeks of their initial meeting, Kaylani and Christopher became an item.
She really fell for Chris, which was perfect for taking Kalani's mind off of Daryl, who was still in jail.
She felt comfortable with him. He made her feel special. So really for her, it felt like a natural fit.
However, just a few months later, Chris and Kaylani's fledgling romance hit what proved to be an insurmountable roadblock.
Hey.
What's going on? What's going on? I need to talk to you.
Christopher Simpson had a child from a high school relationship.
Chris ultimately confessed to Kaylani that he still had feelings for the child's mother.
At that time, the child was either 5 or 6 years old, and he was going to go back with her. And from what I understand, she lived in Oklahoma.
Are you mad?
No. I understand.
Kaylani said, well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to go back with my ex-boyfriend.
In the beginning of 2012, Kaylani reached out to Daryl Roberts and made it clear that he was the one for her.
Until I couldn't be with you, I just didn't realize how much you meant to me.
Listen to me. Once I get out of here, you will not be able to get rid of me.
Promise?
Promise.
They got engaged while he was in prison.
She was looking forward to starting her life with him.
But before Kaylani can make her dream life with Daryl a reality, tragedy strikes.
We have a 20-year-old girl who had her whole life in front of her.
And as the investigation unfolds, Kaylani's death will become even more heartbreaking.
I didn't understand. Why? Why?
April 9th, 2012. On a rural road in Oklahoma, just over the state line from Fort Smith, Arkansas, a sheriff's deputy has found 20-year-old Kaylani Flynn murdered inside her car.
She's been shot twice in the head.
Within minutes, detectives with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation arrive on the scene.
We assist local law enforcement in the rural areas, and the LaFleur County Sheriff's Department requested us to assist them with this homicide investigation.
The car, of course, was registered to a Kalani Flynn, and then her purse with her identification was also inside the vehicle as well.
Based on the driver's license photograph, we felt confident that was Kalani within the car.
The positioning of Kaylani's body in the car tells detectives quite a bit about how she was killed.
She obviously was still within the car and seated in the driver's seat and still had her seatbelt on.
There was blood spatter that was inside the vehicle, and it was consistent with, her position in the driver's seat when she was shot. Her body had not been moved at all.
We had some blood pooling that had indicated to us that the individual died where they were sitting when they were shot.
Other clues at the scene helped detectives determine the assailant's location when they fired the fatal shots.
She also had stippling on her wounds, which would indicate it was a very close range gunshot wound, very likely within 2 feet.
There was also a projectile that I recovered from the passenger side, which indicated that the shooting came from the driver's side.
It looked like she had pulled close to possibly talk to someone, like driver to driver.
There was no holes in the driver's window.
The driver's side window was rolled down, and Kaylani Flynn was shot.
But who was the shooter?
Is it possible she could have just been at the wrong place at the wrong time?
Detectives don't think so.
They didn't take her purse. I think she had some jewelry on her. So I was fairly certain that it was not a robbery. It was not a carjacking.
Instead, detectives believe Kaylani knew the shooter and had willingly rendezvoused with them on this isolated stretch of road.
The most interesting thing that I seen within the crime scene was the way that she was dressed.
She looked like she had just left the house and that she was kind of dressed in bedtime clothes. Just something that you would wear around the house.
The fact that the victim was wearing that type of attire indicated to us that she was meeting someone that she knew, someone that she was familiar and comfortable with.
But who had Kaylani come to meet? At this point, detectives have no idea.
Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of evidence at the scene. This is a rural, isolated setting. There's no one around. There are no houses around.
However, a nearby convenience store presents an intriguing possibility.
The convenience store was located probably 200 to 300 yards to the south of where this crime scene was.
Hoping to find a witness, detectives head to the store to speak to the clerk.
Hey, we need to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, I saw the cop cars out front. What's going on?
Well, we're investigating a homicide.
So that's what we heard.
What do you mean?
The convenience store clerk that was working was being visited by a friend of his that also worked there, and they decided to go outside and smoke just shortly before 11 p.m. And they had just each lit their cigarettes, and they hear 2 to 3 gunshots.
What was that?
They didn't think anything of it because of the being out in the rural area of LaFleur County, Oklahoma. Gunshots are not uncommon.
Are you sure it was 11 p.m.?
Yeah.
It was a key piece of evidence, hearing the gunshots. We were able to determine that's when the homicide had happened, which was just after 11 o'clock.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
After speaking with the clerk, detectives return to the crime scene and discover another key piece of evidence, or to be more precise, the lack thereof.
The charging cord was still within the console, and she did not have her phone. That was a strong indicator that that person was involved with her and did not want law enforcement to see the either text or telephone numbers that was related to that person.
Detectives radio into dispatch and initiate a subpoena for Kehlani's cell phone records.
Even without the phone, the detectives would most likely be able to trace who Kehlani had been talking to, which might reveal who she was meeting that night.
That's when detectives notice another important detail.
There's one more thing. I think she's pregnant.
She was very noticeably pregnant.
The unborn child was obviously something that had to be considered as possibly a motive.
Hoping to learn more about Kehlani, detectives tackle the grim task of notifying her family.
We went and spoke with Kehlani's father, and we had to inform him that she had been found and had been killed.
He asked me, he said, "Do you know a Kehlani Flynn?" I said, "Yes, I do." And then he told me what happened. And I just lost it.
Despite his grief, Kehlani's father tells detectives that he'll do whatever it takes to catch his daughter's killer.
His strength was impressive. Even though he broke down at that time and was very distraught and upset, he powered through to assist us in this investigation. He was one of those guys that knew we had a job to do, and he wanted to help us in any way that he could.
Mr. Flynn, we think your daughter was pregnant. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, she was. She kept asking me, "Daddy, why am I throwing up so much?" I'm like, "Okay, you pregnant." She's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "Yes, you are." She took the test and she found out she was pregnant.
According to Kehlani's father, although the pregnancy was unplanned, Kehlani was excited about being a mother.
She was very excited, very excited. She was just already buying stuff and planning baby showers and how she's going to decorate the room.
When she found out she was pregnant, everything else just kind of went to the side, and that was her main focus. She was going to the doctor and taking care of herself. She was excited. She's getting ready for it.
She already had a name picked out for the baby.
Do you know who the father is?
Yeah. A guy named Christopher Simpson.
Kehlani's father says even though Kehlani was pregnant with Christopher's child, he was no longer in the picture.
From what Kehlani said, he was going to go back to the previous woman that he was with that had his other child.
He tells detectives that his daughter was planning to raise the baby with another man, her newly minted fiancé, Daryl Roberts.
He had a few more months to do on the sentence that he was incarcerated for, and he was obviously not the father based on the time frame of what had occurred. They had planned to marry once he was out of prison.
He was like, "It doesn't matter whether the baby's mine or whether the baby's someone else's. If you want this baby, we'll raise this baby together."
The information provided by Kehlani's father shed some much-needed light on the list of possible suspects.
They look at Daryl, and since Daryl was in prison, he certainly couldn't have been the killer.
Which leaves the baby's alleged father, Christopher Simpson, as the primary person of interest.
Detectives agreed that they need to speak to Christopher Simpson.
However, before they track down Christopher, detectives decide to interview Kehlani's cousin and roommate, Molly Jacobs, who may have been the last person other than the killer to see Kehlani alive.
We obviously interviewed her, hoping to establish that what she was doing or who she was going to meet.
But what Molly has to say will only deepen the mystery and throw another potential suspect into the mix.
She's been MIA ever since her and Kaylani got into it.
Oklahoma detectives are investigating the murder of 20-year-old Kaylani Flynn and wondering whether her pregnancy had anything to do with this horrible crime.
Kalani was found to be pregnant based upon the medical examiner's findings.
The medical examiner said that as soon as the mother died, then the baby had zero probability of living.
The medical examiner's office, of course, collected the DNA from her fetus.
We wanted to establish through DNA who the father of the child was.
As they wait for the results of the DNA test, detectives can't help but wonder, what was this expectant mother doing on a remote rural road in the middle of the night?
It was as though she was planning on meeting and talking with somebody that she had arranged to meet at that location.
Hoping for some answers, detectives bring Kaylani's cousin and roommate, Molly Jacobs, in for an interview.
You're not in any trouble, first of all, first and foremost. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
So at first, Molly is really nervous, but once they relaxed her, she really started to open up and start talking about everything.
The cousin had made cookies, and Kaylani was there at the residence. Then the cousin decided to take a shower, and then when she came out, Kaylani was gone.
And then when I got the shower, she called me, and then she was like, I'll be back. I went somewhere. And I was like, okay.
Unfortunately, the cousin didn't know why Kaylani had left.
However, Molly's story confirmed that Kalani had her phone when she left, meaning that the killer must have taken it from the crime scene.
When detectives ask Molly if there was anyone she knew who might want to hurt Kaylani, she gives them the name of Kaylani's previous roommate, Samantha Hayes.
Samantha lived with Kaylani before Molly did. They moved in together right about the same time that Kaylani split with Chris.
She came into some money, quite a large sum of money, and had paid the rent for them, and had also even bought Kaylani her vehicle. Does she work, or she just had a lot of money?
I guess she had a lot of money. She don't work.
Detectives are looking at this, and they're wondering where Samantha got that money. But better, why is she spending so much of it on Kaylani?
All Molly knows is that about a month ago, Samantha and Kaylani had a falling out, and shortly thereafter, Samantha left.
So she moves out and lets Kaylani live there?
No, she didn't move out. She just haven't been there.
Just hadn't been there?
Yeah.
They had got to terms where they weren't speaking.
In light of what happened to Kalani, Molly figured the police needed to know.
And that leaves detectives wondering, could Samantha have something to do with Kaylani's death?
She had given money to Kaylani, and so we had to consider that as a possible motive.
Speaking with friends and family, detectives track Samantha down at her grandmother's house on the north side of town and bring her in for questioning.
Kalani Flynn is dead,
I know.
and this is a homicide investigation.
Mm-hmm.
We asked her at length about what was going on.
Detectives start by asking about the money she had given Kaylani.
So Samantha explains that, look, when I was younger, I was busted for marijuana. I was put into juvie, and while I was in juvie, the guards mistreated me. So I got a settlement out of it.
They had restrained me too hard, knocked me out, had a big knot on my head, and everything. I sued them and got $103,000 out of them.
As for why she'd been so generous toward Kaylani, Samantha explains that she did it as a favor to an old friend of hers, Daryl Roberts.
It's his fiance, and he's locked up right now.
And thanks to her court settlement, Samantha had enough money to help out and buy Kalani a car.
We were all like a little family, us three, and I was like, yeah, I'll help you out. You know, I feel bad. So they'd help me out if they had it. So I bought them that car, that Charger.
Samantha insists that she and Daryl are strictly platonic friends, but detectives wonder if there might be more to the story.
Detectives look at this, and they start to think, did Samantha have a thing for Daryl? So if that's true, maybe she was jealous. Maybe she got rid of Kaylani.
You're not one of his girlfriends in any way. Never have.
No, never.
Never been intimate. Had sexual intercourse.
No, never.
Or maybe detectives had it backwards. Maybe Daryl was the third person in the love triangle.
What about Kalani?
Kalani, no.
Do you have any intimate relationship with her? Which if you did, that's your business, but it's something we have to ask.
No, I hadn't.
What happened between you and Kaylani where y'all had a falling out?
Oh, about well, the house was a mess, you know. And I just recently came back home for just one day, and I went in there, I was mad, because everything was ransacked.
she was concerned that it was going to cause them to get kicked out of that apartment complex.
Me and her got into it because of that. Because I wasn't about to get evicted.
Detectives wonder if Samantha was worried about being evicted, why didn't she just ask Kehlani to move out, rather than Samantha herself choosing not to live there for the last few weeks?
Would you understand that right now it looks like you give her, I don't know how much money in cars and in rent, and wasn't even living there, and could easily have a motive to want her out of the picture?
Once detectives put Samantha on notice that she was a suspect, they started to lean on her.
Did you kill Kehlani?
No.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I'm sure.
Do you have any involvement in it?
No.
Is there anything that we're going to find out with your phone records that implicate that you're involved in this?
No.
Anybody that you've been talking to that you haven't told us about that we're going to find out that you've been talking with that could have had something to do with her death?
No, sir.
Any reason for anyone to say that they seen you in that area on the night this occurred?
No, sir.
Detectives ask Samantha where she was the night Kehlani was murdered.
I was at my grandma's house then the next day.
Never left?
After speaking with Samantha, detectives follow up with her grandmother, who confirms her alibi.
She didn't seem to have any involvement with the actual homicide at the time. There wasn't anything investigatively that we could link her to.
But as one door closes, another one opens when detectives get a call from Christopher Simpson, the alleged father of Kehlani's unborn child.
Christopher Simpson made contact with the sheriff's department and said since he had had this relationship, although it was a very short one, with Kehlani, he knew that he would be questioned in reference to it. So he wanted to come meet with us so that he could provide his part of what had occurred with him and Kehlani so that he could be removed or excluded from the investigation.
Once detectives sit down with Christopher, he'll add another wrinkle to a case that's getting more complicated by the minute.
He just speculated that it was a short relationship, in his words, a hookup. He just felt confident that he was not the father of that child. You really don't think it's your baby?
No.
It's been 1 day since Kehlani Flynn was found shot to death in rural Oklahoma. And detectives are meeting with the man she believed was the father of her unborn baby.
Christopher Simpson made contact with the sheriff's department and said that he wished to be interviewed in reference to this situation. So we asked that he come to the area we were in.
I appreciate and applaud the fact that you called to let us know you wanted to talk. Anything you need from me.
When Chris was interviewed, he was calm, cool, collective, and very well-spoken.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your relationship with Kehlani?
We met last year, maybe around sometime between July and September.
He indicated that he had spent time with Kehlani and they had had sex, but it was, in his words, a hookup, and it was not any type of prolonged relationship.
Christopher says when Kehlani called and told him that she was pregnant with his baby, he was shocked.
She was like, "It's yours." I'm like, "Nah, that's not possible. How far along are you?" She said she was 9 weeks at the time. So, okay, well, if you do the math, you know how that adds up. Like, it don't make sense.
You really don't think it's your baby?
No.
He believed that she had other friends and acquaintances that could possibly be the father.
Do you know who Kehlani was with or who she was dating?
No.
He didn't know enough about Kehlani's background or who she was around to actually pinpoint or say who he thought that it was.
The only thing I know about is other relationships she had. She said that there was a guy in prison that she was supposed to be engaged to, that she was supposed to get married to when he got out. I don't know anything else besides that.
When's the last time you talked to her?
The last time we had any type of contact was through text message. It would have to be April 1st.
She needed Chris Simpson's information so that she could supply that to the Department of Human Services so that she could get assistance with her pregnancy.
She told him, all you have to do when the baby is born is sign over your parental rights. That relinquishes you on everything. He said, okay. And I sat right there in the car when she told him that.
I just left it alone completely. Because my understanding was, okay, if she wants to play these games, she can play these games by herself. Then when this baby is born, everything will come to the light. I don't have anything to worry about.
Though Kehlani's baby will never be born, the DNA collected could allow detectives to determine the father's identity.
One thing I need is standard procedure we do is get everybody's DNA. Would you be all right with that? Okay.
Chris Simpson voluntarily provided his DNA so that we could exclude whether or not he was the father of the child.
I'd like to look at your phone if you don't care.
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
In addition to requesting access to a cell phone, detectives also asked Christopher to supply an alibi for the night of the murder.
Where was you at tonight?
At my cousin's house.
Christopher said that he only left his cousin's house in Fort Smith for a very brief period to run up to the convenience store and get some Gatorade and cigars.
The convenience store where Mr. Simpson had traveled to was located about a half mile from his cousin's residence, also in Fort Smith.
After talking to Chris, detectives reach out to his cousin, Lawrence Glover.
The cousin, along with his wife, were able to establish that he was there during that time frame and that Mr. Simpson had only left for a short amount of time.
Detectives call the convenience store and obtain their surveillance footage.
The video from that, it indicated that he was up there around 11:20.
There was nothing that gave strong indications that he was the type of person that would do this. Chris only had a mild misdemeanor in his background. He didn't have any felony convictions or anything that supported, any violent tendencies.
With his alibi firmly established, all the police need to definitively rule out Christopher Simpson as a suspect are the results of the paternity test. While they wait, the subpoena for Kehlani's cell phone records comes through. And what those records reveal will help detectives zero in on Kehlani's killer.
In this case, that cell phone was going to be a roadmap for the detectives, providing a voice for someone who could no longer speak for themselves.
Someone had called Kehlani Flynn 6 times within 30 minutes of the murder taking place.
That number is connected to a burner phone. Someone had gone to a hell of a lot of trouble to cover their tracks.
After corroborating the alibi of Chris Simpson, the alleged father of Kehlani Flynn's unborn baby, Oklahoma detectives are unsure if they'll be able to solve her murder.
They had a real whodunit kind of case. They had no fingerprints, no firearm, no eyewitness.
It was shocking because you never think it will happen to you and your family. But it did.
Detectives believe they finally caught a break when their subpoena for Kehlani's cell phone records is approved.
We used her cellular telephone records to establish who she had been talking with that night and the previous day.
There's 3 different numbers that pop up on the phone records. And you know what? One of them belongs to a man Kehlani used to go out with.
We interviewed and established that he was in Northwest Arkansas at the time of the homicide.
The second number also proved to be a dead end.
Kehlani was friends with this guy, and he was in the state of Washington at the time, but he was a close friend of hers that they spoke regularly.
But the third number was more of a mystery.
The last phone that has contact with her on her way into Oklahoma was a 254 number out of Killeen, Texas.
Someone had called Kehlani Flynn 6 times within 30 minutes of the murder taking place.
Unfortunately for detectives, the records don't reveal the identity of the person making the calls.
The phone, when it was set up, there was no subscriber information provided.
This phone is what's known as a burner phone. It's an inexpensive phone that doesn't have a contract.
For the most part, they're purchased by drug dealers or for other nefarious criminal activities.
However, based on the burner phone's date of purchase, detectives are fairly certain it was used for one reason and one reason only.
That phone was only bought on April 4th and activated the day before the murder.
It was only used the day that the murder had occurred. We knew that whoever had that phone was very likely the person that had pulled the trigger.
After tracing the origin of the burner phone, detectives are able to pinpoint the location where it was purchased.
That phone had possibly been sold in the Killeen, Texas area, so we physically went to Killeen to several stores to try to establish where those type of phones were sold.
But the trip to Texas turns out to be a wild goose chase.
We were able to establish that the phone was sold at a Walmart in Fort Smith, Arkansas. When you buy this phone and want to activate it, you can put in your zip code as to what area of number that you want to utilize. Once we learned that the phone had been sold at Walmart, we went to the Walmart and got any records related to pay-as-you-go phones sold on the day in question.
They find that phone was paid for in cash. There's no name to trace.
Hoping there might still be a way to identify the individual who bought the phone, detectives speak with store security.
We told him, hey, look, we need information related to this pay-as-you-go phone, and can you give it to us? And he says, yes. So you're wanting a picture of who bought it?
Luckily, that security footage from Walmart captured the moment the phone was bought.
When detectives scan through the footage, there's no doubt who bought the phone.
It was a absolute excellent picture of Christopher Simpson.
Detectives have experts analyze the burner phone's data.
That phone is then able to be tracked, communicating with towers that were inside Oklahoma and also inside Arkansas. They were able to demonstrate that the phone actually leaves the state of Arkansas, enters into Oklahoma right at the same time that her phone is going from Arkansas into Oklahoma.
So it was irrefutable that the phone was part of a master plan of this murder.
When detectives pull Chris's personal cell phone records for the night of the murder, something else catches their attention.
At 8:17, Chris's phone goes inactive.
It was as though this phone was intentionally turned off.
When that phone went inactive is when the prepaid phone that Simpson had purchased began making phone calls for the first time.
Christopher's phone records also reveal that even though his personal cell was turned off, he missed several incoming calls.
Christopher's cousin Lawrence calls him 3 times starting at 11 p.m. and texted him as well.
That tells you that the cousin can't get a hold of him because he's not at the residence. Chris finally responds about 10 minutes after 11.
The surveillance video at the convenience store that he claimed he was at indicated that he was up there around 11:20, which was 20 minutes after the homicide had occurred, and plenty of time for him to get back from Oklahoma to Fort Smith.
If he's just leaving and going a half mile to the convenience store and traveling back, he shouldn't have been gone more than 10 minutes tops.
After analyzing Chris's cell phone records and the holes they poke in his alibi, detectives bring Chris's cousin Lawrence Glover in for questioning on June 12, 2012, and confront him with the discrepancies they've discovered in his initial statement.
Chris's cousin tells police that Chris had been at his house all night, except for this really brief visit to a nearby convenience store.
So you call him 3 times and he don't answer? And when you call it, what does it do?
It's a straight voicemail.
Straight to voicemail? What did that mean to you?
Man, at the time I didn't think nothing of it.
Investigators aren't buying it. They continue to press, and eventually Lawrence comes clean about his initial statement.
I lied.
And you lied?
Chris's cousins admit to police that he left around 10:30 to run to the store, but he didn't get back until 11:20.
When he hadn't returned in about 15 minutes, they started attempting to call his primary cell phone, which we knew at the time was inactive. And so we were able to establish that he was actually gone for a significant period of time, far longer than it would have taken Simpson to travel from the residence to the gas station and back.
This means no one knew where Chris was from 10:30 until 11:20 p.m., the exact time frame in which Kehlani was killed.
But what investigators can't figure out is just how much Lawrence Glover knows about the murder itself.
Now's the time to come clean. Like we talked about, you need to continue. If you know anything, and you do, we can see it on your face, you know.
If he did it, I didn't want to know nothing. I didn't want to be implicated in it.
Detectives in LaFleur County, Oklahoma, have just learned that on the night Kehlani Flynn died, Lawrence Glover made 3 calls to his cousin Christopher Simpson, the man police now suspect of Kehlani's murder. But detectives aren't sure how much Lawrence knew about the crime or how far he was willing to go to protect his cousin. That's when Lawrence decides to come clean.
Something was bothering you. It was
something involving Kehlani's pregnancy.
He didn't want the baby, and he didn't say he was gonna kill her, but he was like, she ain't having the baby.
It was all good, but now she's talking about she pregnant.
It's good, right?
Ah, man, I don't want no baby right now, you know what I'm saying? We just been hanging out.
He didn't want Kehlani to have that child and had even offered to pay for an abortion.
She wasn't going to do that. She didn't believe in doing that.
Chris made comments to his cousin that if she didn't want to get rid of it, he would get rid of it for Was he talking about it before he left?
No, not that night, but he's been talking about it. He's always been talking about it.
A lot? On a daily basis?
He talked about it too much for me.
Chris had talked about this so much that as soon as Lawrence heard that Kehlani had been shot, he just assumed Chris was involved.
Did you confront him about it? No. You didn't ask him how he... If he did it, I didn't want to know nothing. I didn't want to be implicated in it.
It was also why he and his wife initially lied about Chris's alibi.
I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't know what to think.
With Lawrence's statement, as well as cell phone data all but placing Christopher at the scene of the crime, detectives are certain they found Kehlani's killer.
Who was the person that had the opportunity, who garnered the most from her passing, and it just came full circle back to Chris Simpson.
But with little in the way of physical evidence and no eyewitnesses placing Christopher at the scene, charging him with murder is still an uphill battle.
When you're going into a murder trial and you're building an entire case on circumstantial evidence, it makes it tough.
Hoping to firm up their case, the police spend the next several weeks searching for the murder weapon.
We went so far as to get the Tulsa Police Dive Unit to drag the river between Fort Smith, Arkansas and the Oklahoma state line. Never found a murder weapon.
My personal theory as to what has happened to the weapon is he got rid of it during his travels from the crime scene back to his cousin's house, and only Chris Simpson knows where he truly got rid of that weapon.
To strengthen their case, detectives subpoena Chris's financial records. What they find explains why he was so desperate to keep Kehlani from having the baby.
His account was being garnished by the state through the child support services.
He had already had another child, and basically he didn't want any more kids.
Simpson was a deadbeat dad. He didn't have any intention of supporting the 7-year-old child he already had.
That also lended some credibility to the information that we were getting from witnesses that he had threatened her about the baby and indicated that he wasn't going to have to pay for another child.
But that's not all detectives uncover.
The DNA evidence proved conclusively that Kehlani's baby was Chris's baby.
He obviously knew it was because he knew he was going to have to take care of it.
So now there's a financial motive. There's Chris's faulty alibi. And then there's the evidence of Chris purchasing a burner phone, which he uses solely to communicate with Kehlani in the hours leading up to her murder. At this point, detectives are looking at this and they're feeling really, really good about their case.
On June 21st, 2012, after more than 2 months of investigation, the Oklahoma authorities secure a warrant for Chris's arrest.
We asked Mr. Simpson to turn himself in at a prescribed time at the LaFleur County Detention Center, and he didn't adhere to the exact time and decided to go eat with his girlfriend and has dinner like nothing's going on, like he's not wanted for an arrest.
Chris Simpson, get your hands up. You're under arrest.
I was thankful that they made the arrest, that they got him off the street. For someone that could do that to a pregnant woman, he needed to be off the street.
At his arraignment, the judge informs Chris that he faces not 1, but 2 counts of first-degree murder.
1 for killing Kehlani and 1 for killing her unborn child.
On September 19th, 2013, the state of Oklahoma versus Christopher Simpson gets underway. Kehlani's family packs the courtroom, praying that justice will be served. But Chris remains as cool and confident as he'd been during his arrest.
He was sitting there and he didn't change no emotion. He was straight-faced, like he didn't care.
He premeditated and planned this situation out right down to where he was going to lure her to and use a phone that he thought was untraceable.
According to the prosecutors, the prospect of paying more child support gave Chris both the motive and the means to lure Kehlani to her death.
We believe that Christopher Simpson called Kehlani Flynn from that burner phone and asked her to come to his location so that he could provide her the information she wanted for the DHS to be able to establish that he's the father and get the process started.
Listen, I got all that stuff you need. Birth certificate, I got it all, man. Don't worry about it. You're going to be able to get everything. Child support and all that. Yeah, can you come meet me? Okay, cool. I'll just be waiting on you. Bye.
He made plans to meet her on this rural road, and as soon as she pulls up, he presents a weapon and ultimately shoots and kills her.
In hopes of covering his tracks, Chris takes Kaylani's phone. He takes it, the burner phone, and the murder weapon, and he ditches all three. Then he drives back to his cousin's, but what does he do? He stops at that convenience store on the way to establish an alibi.
It was nearly a perfect murder.
Prosecutors even demonstrated if Chris left his cousin's house at 10:30, there was ample time for him to make the 8-mile drive across the border to the rendezvous point, shoot Kalani, and then be back at the convenience store by 11:20.
On September 26, 2013, Christopher Simpson is found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder.
They convicted him on both counts of the first-degree murder for Kaylani and her child.
Simpson received life without the possibility of parole on both counts.
As the sentence is handed down, Chris's cool demeanor finally cracks.
He looked like he was slapped in the face with a bat.
He was actually going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. I don't think he ever thought that was a possibility. Arrogance wouldn't allow him to believe that he was caught.
While Kaylani's family takes some comfort in justice being served, it can't fill the void left by her passing.
The fact that it happened at all has put a damper on our entire family. Every holiday, every occasion is different now. We don't hear her laughing. Everything's different.
It still hurts. You say that it gets easier to deal with. It gets a little easier to talk about, but it still hurts. Even though I have another daughter, grandkids, my wife, a very big part of my life was taken from me and from this family. Caroline was special.